Rod. He has our second to the last, I think it is, Take 10 at 10 of 10. And today we're going to learn about workflows. The other day, just so everyone knows, we had a webinar by Jody on workflows. Really hot topic at Convergence, and hope you look forward to seeing this tip. So Rod, I can see your screen. It's not quite in presentation mode, but if you are ready to rock and roll, we are ready for you.
I am. Thanks, Kim. Can you still see it?
I can't. Oh, it's in presentation mode, so I think you're using dual screen.
Yeah, you gotta love that. All right, I'm just going to do it this way.
Yeah, that's
everybody
perfect.
can see the actual screens.
All right.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to be talking about workflows, like Kim said. We're going to try to keep this to 10 minutes. I'm going to be going really, really fast. It's funny that Kim mentioned the Jody webinar because I actually stole a slide from her webinar. I'll point it out when we get there to give her all her due credit. So yeah, let's get going. Here's our agenda. We're going to do a quick introduction to the workflows. I'm going to walk you through a sample workflow process, and we'll see if we can do more than one question, but we're going to try to keep everybody on here for just our 10 minutes. All right, so the new workflows from Microsoft Dynamics GP, I don't know how many people are aware, but there actually has been a workflow built into GP for quite a long time. It was based on SharePoint, and it was not widely accepted. I know when I was an IT manager, we looked at it, and we weren't even sure what SharePoint to buy. It was kind of a bit confusing to try and deal with that. The new workflows, they're inside GP, they're managed by GP. There's no extra licensing or anything like that you have to pick up. They've moved them into the web client, so the web client still can access the workflows that we create. Like I said, they removed SharePoint. They have improved the design. It's easier to build a workflow now than it was before, and they've increased the flexibility. So basically what they've done is they've started to build out particular groups of workflows, and within each workflow type, you can create a workflow. So to that end, this is also a borrowed slide. It's taken from What's New in Dynamics GP 2015 Part 2. This was presented by Jared Hall and Teresa Nisler at Reimagine. You can see in GP 2013 R2, they actually introduced the first 4 workflows. So purchase order approval and purchase requisition approval were kind of the 2 key ones for me. Being a Canadian, we don't use the payroll time cards, but that was a big one for people as well as the project timesheets. In 2015, they've actually expanded the list by quite a bit. You can see on the right-hand side there, we've got general ledger and receivables batch approval, payables batch approval, vendor approval, which is what we're going to take a look at in a few minutes. Our payroll, our employee profile approval, skills, direct deposit, W-4, and we've added for project the expense report approval. So there's quite a few in there. They've actually promised quite a few more for 2015, the next version, the next releases. Excuse me. Some of the cool features I like about it, it does tie to your Active Directory for your roles and process participants. So the people who are involved in your approval don't really have to be GP users. They can still go ahead and approve directly from an email, which we'll see really quick. It can handle consecutive as well as parallel steps. So within our vendor approval workflow, you'll see we have 2 things that happen at the same time and then 1 that happens at the end of it. No more SharePoint. That was a big one for me. And it's free. It's in there. It's part of your GP. As long as you're on your maintenance, you get these. Okay. I did hear a rumor that the AP voucher is coming eventually. I'm not sure which release though. Okay, so our sample that we're going to take a really quick look at is the vendor approval process. So our process within this organization is we enter the vendor and we press submit. We validate our HST and we enter our accounting data both at the same time, and at the end a manager reviews and approves. Now, here's the trick. I work in a company where everybody's named Rod O'Connor. We're going to have to pretend that because I needed all of the emails to come to Rod O'Connor. But we'll pretend that they're actually 4 different people. I do need my Outlook open so I can prove that the emails are actually going to come from GP. Okay, let's go ahead and create a vendor. just going to put in the bare minimum of information. Okay, so now Billable Wagons is ready to be created. I'm going to put him into the vendor approval process queue. Actually, we'll give him an address. Okay, that's all we're going to throw in for now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Submit. Okay. Okay, I go ahead and type my note and I say Submit. It's going to put this vendor right into my workflow process. And what I should see in a minute or two, or hopefully less than a minute, is the approval email coming through to Rod O'Connor as the manager, telling me, hey, you need to approve this. There you go. We have been assigned a task to validate HST information in the vendor approval workflow Billable Wagons. So because I'm a GP user, I can actually click right here on this ID and pop open directly to my vendor window. And because of all my screens open, so here I am, it opened up Billable for me. I can now go validate his HST information. I can click right here and say, yep, this task is complete. If you take a look at the top of the screen, it's telling anybody that comes into this window, you can't do anything with this guy because we have to validate the HST information. HST is Harmonized Sales Tax, in case you're not Canadian. So I'm going to go ahead and flag this as complete. Okay, and again, I should get an email in just a moment that's going to tell me, hey, we have to go and set our vendor up with our accounting class. Okay, I don't have to wait for the email though. If I'm the guy who's doing the work and I'm doing this on a regular basis, under my vendors navigation list, I've actually got a vendors pending approval. Okay, so this is the navigation list where I can come and I can control any of the workflows, and I can see, oh yeah, here's Billable Wagons. I can double click to pop him open, take a look at what's been set. I know that I have to set the vendor class, so let's make him American. Then I'm going to go ahead and again mark that task complete. Okay. Once again, if I go ahead and refresh this list, Billable shows back up because I have to approve them. This is my last step. I'm just going to go ahead and approve them. Okay, now one quick note about Billable. Anytime I come back into Billable, you can see my new vendor process has been completed. I can take a look at the history and see all of the steps that happened. So I've got an entire record of my workflow history. If I had rejected at any point, let me show you his cousin Frodo. Because he got rejected at the review and approve state, it actually started a second workflow at the resubmit. So I've got the history for all of that. I can see that we've got everything set up. Oh, here we didn't enter the email. We'd like the email address. So we have to go ahead and make sure that all of everything's good and ready to go. That's a really quick look at our vendor approval process. To set that up, we're actually doing this under the administration. You're going to find under our setup for administration, you're going to find a section called workflow. Oops. Right here under the company. Okay. So if I come into workflow maintenance, this is where I actually established my vendor approval process, and you can see that it's a nice little graphical display of here's all the steps that have to happen. I was able to set, excuse me, each of these things as either a task or an approval. I can assign them to a particular user, or because it's Active Directory, I can assign it to a group of users. I can also assign it to what they call a workflow role. So when I reject it, for example, I can send a notification to the workflow originator to say, hey, I rejected it, or I approved it. You can do either way. And that brings us to time for our one question, if there is one.